Have you ever said something and instantly wished you could take it back? Have you ever opened up about a personal regret, a deep worry, or a painful truth, only to realize it changed how others saw you? At 70, I've learned a hard truth. Not everything needs to be shared. Some words, once spoken, don't bring comfort. They create burdens. They make us seem weaker in the eyes of others, cause us to lose the respect we've built over a lifetime, or worse, make our voices fade into the background, unheard. Wisdom isn't just about what we've learned. It's also about knowing when to stay silent. Not every fear, regret, or struggle needs to be voiced. Some things, if shared too often, don't bring us closer to our loved ones. They create distance, guilt, or unnecessary worry. That's why today, I want to share 5 things that a wise person learns to keep private. Not to hide the truth, but to protect inner peace, preserve dignity, and maintain the respect we deserve in the years we have left. If you find these insights valuable, please like this video and subscribe to Elderly Wisdom Story. By doing so, you're helping us reach more people who can benefit from these important life lessons. Now, let's begin with the first and perhaps the most dangerous thing to share too openly: our deepest regrets. Because if we're not careful, regrets don't just belong to the past. They can shape the future in ways we never intended. Number 1. Regrets, a heavy burden that shouldn't be shared too often. Regret is one of the heaviest burdens a person can carry. As the years pass, we come to realize that certain choices could have led to different outcomes. It's natural to reflect on the past, to wonder what if, and to feel the weight of roads not taken. Sometimes, sharing these regrets with family can bring a sense of relief or closure. But what I've learned is that while regrets may belong to us, when spoken too often, they can become a burden on the shoulders of those we love. I remember a conversation I had with my daughter, Anna, one afternoon. We were reminiscing about life, and without thinking much of it, I told her, "I wish I had pursued a different career when I was younger. I think I would have been happier." It was just an honest thought, something I had carried in my heart for years. But I saw the way her face changed. Her smile faded, and her eyes filled with worry. A few days later, she came to me and asked, "Dad, do you think I'm making the wrong choices in my career? What if I end up feeling the same way you do?" That moment stopped me in my tracks. I hadn't meant to make her doubt herself. I was simply reflecting on my own life, but in doing so, I had unintentionally planted a seed of uncertainty in hers. This is the danger of sharing our deepest regrets too freely. When we voice them to our children, they may start questioning their own path, wondering if they, too, will one day feel the same sorrow. A father who confesses that he wished he had taken a different career path may cause his children to doubt their own choices. A mother who shares that she regrets a lost love may unintentionally make her children wonder if their own lives were built on the foundation of a mistake. Beyond that, dwelling on the past too often can steal the joy of the present. When we constantly talk about what could have been, we create an atmosphere of sadness and longing rather than appreciation for what still remains. Our loved ones may start feeling as if their presence isn't enough to bring us happiness, as if they are merely spectators in a life filled with missed opportunities. That's not to say we should never share lessons from our past mistakes. There is wisdom in using our experiences to guide the next generation. But there's a fine line between teaching and burdening. Instead of saying, "I regret not taking more chances," try saying, "If I could give my younger self advice, I tell him to take more risks and not be afraid of the unknown, because the truth is we cannot rewrite the past, but we can choose how we frame it. And in doing so, we can ensure that our words don't weigh down those we love, but instead lift them up. Now, let's talk about another topic that, if we're not careful, can shift the balance of our relationships: money. Because what we say about our finances, whether it's struggles or success, can have a bigger impact than we realize. Number 2, finances, a delicate matter that can alter family relationships. Money has a way of changing things, sometimes in ways we never see coming. I used to think that talking openly about my financial situation with my family was a sign of trust. But over time, I realized that what we say about money doesn't just stay as words. It carries weight, and sometimes that weight falls on the shoulders of those we love. I remember a time when I casually mentioned to my son, David, that I was worried about whether my savings would last. I wasn't asking for help, just voicing a concern. But not long after, I started noticing small things. He stopped ordering dessert when we ate out. He hesitated before buying things he used to enjoy. And one day, I even overheard him telling his wife, "We need to be careful with our spending. I think Dad might need our help soon." That moment broke my heart. I had never intended to make him feel responsible for me, but by constantly speaking about my financial worries, I had unknowingly placed a burden on him. And the worst part, he never told me how he felt. He just silently adjusted his life, carrying a weight that should have never been his to bear. But I've also seen the other side of this coin. A good friend of mine, Robert, had worked hard all his life and had built a comfortable retirement. Proud of his success, he often spoke about his investments and how well he had planned for the future. At first, his children admired his financial wisdom, but over time, something changed. One day, his youngest daughter asked, "Dad, how much do you plan to leave us?" That was the moment he realized that his openness about money had created expectations that were never there before. That's the tricky thing about finances. If we talk too much about our struggles, we risk making our loved ones feel obligated to take care of us. But if we talk too much about our success, we risk creating entitlement, resentment, or even competition among family members. So, I've learned to handle these conversations carefully. If I need advice, I seek out a professional, rather than putting the weight on my children. If I want to share financial wisdom, I focus on lessons rather than numbers. Because at the end of the day, I want my family to love me for who I am, not feel responsible for what's in my bank account. And speaking of things that can change family relationships forever, let's talk about something even more fragile: our opinions about the people we love. Because once those words are spoken, they can never truly be taken back. Number 3, negative opinions about family members, words that can never be taken back. Family relationships are complicated. No matter how much we love each other, there will always be moments of disagreement, moments when we feel frustrated or disappointed. And in those moments, it's tempting to speak our minds, to say exactly what we feel about a certain family member. Whether it's a son-in-law we don't fully trust, a sibling who has made poor choices, or a grandchild whose lifestyle we don't understand. But what I've learned, often the hard way, is that once those words leave our mouths, they can never truly be taken back. I still remember the day I made a careless comment about my daughter's husband. It wasn't meant to be cruel, just an offhand remark about how I didn't think he was ambitious enough for her. But from that day forward, something changed. She stopped sharing details about her marriage with me. She became more guarded, and our once easy conversations started feeling heavier. I didn't mean to create a rift, but that one sentence planted a seed of doubt, making her feel like she had to defend her choice rather than celebrate it. The truth is, when we voice negative opinions about a family member, we put our loved ones in an impossible position. A child who hears their parent criticize their spouse is now torn between loyalty to their husband or wife and loyalty to their parents. A sibling who is constantly reminded of their past mistakes may start to pull away, feeling like they will never be seen for who they are now. Even a simple remark, spoken in frustration, can linger far longer than we ever intended. That doesn't mean we should never express concerns, but how we say things matters just as much as what we say. Instead of bluntly stating, "I don't think she's the right person for you," consider asking, "Are you happy? I just want to make sure you're with someone who truly supports you." The difference may seem small, but one approach opens a conversation, while the other creates walls. And sometimes, silence is the greatest form of love. There have been times when I've bitten my tongue, holding back a criticism I knew would only cause pain, and I've never regretted it. But the times I spoke too quickly, those are the moments I wish I could take back. At the end of the day, family is about love, and love means choosing our words carefully. Because while forgiveness is possible, forgetting is much harder. Now, let's talk about another topic that, if we're not careful, can change the way our family sees us: our health. Because while it's important to share when we need help, there's a fine line between keeping loved ones informed and making our struggles the only thing they see in us. Number 4, health. Avoid becoming the center of pity. Aging comes with its fair share of challenges. There's no denying that. Aches linger longer, doctor visits become more frequent, and medications pile up on the bedside table. It's natural to want to talk about these things, especially with family. After all, who else do we turn to when we're feeling unwell? But what I've learned over the years is that when our health becomes the main topic of conversation, it can also become the main thing people see in us. I didn't notice it at first, but it started with simple things. My granddaughter, Sophie, used to tell me all about her school, her friends, and the places she wanted to travel. But over time, I realized that every time she visited, the first thing she'd ask was, "Grandpa, how are you feeling today?" And every time, I answered with a list of aches, pains, and doctor's visits. One day, she finally said, "Can we talk about something fun today?" That's when it hit me. I had unknowingly let my health define my presence in her life. It's not that my family doesn't care. It's that they want to see me as the person I've always been, not just as an aging body with a list of ailments. When we constantly talk about our health struggles, even out of habit, it can shift how others perceive us. Instead of being seen as wise, capable, and full of stories, we risk being seen as fragile, dependent, and in need of constant care. And the more that happens, the more we can start believing it ourselves. That doesn't mean we should suffer in silence. If there's something serious, we should absolutely tell our loved ones. But we must choose wisely what we share, making sure that our conversations aren't dominated by our ailments. Instead of saying, "I'm always in pain," try saying, "I have good days and bad days, but today, I want to hear about you." Because in the end, we don't want our families to visit out of obligation. We want them to come because they enjoy our presence, not just because they feel they need to check on us. And speaking of emotions we unintentionally place on our loved ones, let's talk about one of the heaviest burdens of all, our fears about the future. Number 5, fear Don't let worry become a burden on your loved ones. Fear is a natural part of life, especially as we grow older. The unknown becomes more daunting, and thoughts about the future, our health, our independence, and even our place in our family start creeping in more often. It's only human to want reassurance, to seek comfort from those we love. But what I've come to realize is that when we voice our fears too often, we don't just carry them ourselves, we pass them on to others. I remember a time when I told my daughter, Emma, "I'm afraid of being alone in my final years." It was an honest thought, something that had been weighing on me for a while. I expected her to reassure me, to tell me I would always be surrounded by family. And she did, but I also noticed something else. She started calling more, even when she was busy. She began canceling plans, visiting out of obligation rather than joy. She never said it, but I could feel it. The weight of my fear had become hers. I never wanted that. I never wanted my worries to dictate her life. But by constantly speaking about them, I had unknowingly planted guilt in her heart. That's the thing about fear. It's contagious. The more we talk about it, the more it spreads, until the people we love start feeling responsible for fixing something they cannot control. When parents frequently talk about their fear of loneliness, their children may feel torn between their own lives and their duty to be there. When we speak too often about the fear of death, we risk making every moment with our loved ones feel heavier than it should be. But strength doesn't come from ignoring fear, it comes from managing it. Instead of saying, "I'm scared of being forgotten," say, "I cherish every moment we get to spend together." Instead of focusing on what we fear might happen, let's focus on the love, laughter, and memories we can create right now. Because the truth is, none of us can control the future, but we can choose how we live today. Now, as we bring these lessons together, let's reflect on why choosing our words wisely is one of the greatest gifts we can give, not only to ourselves but to those we love. The power of knowing what to keep to yourself. As I look back on my life, I've learned that wisdom isn't just about what we say. It's also about what we choose to keep to ourselves. I used to believe that sharing everything, my regrets, my worries, my opinions, my struggles, would bring me closer to my family. But over time, I've come to understand that not all words bring comfort. Some create unnecessary burdens, some plant seeds of doubt, and some, once spoken, can never be taken back. By choosing our words wisely, we protect both our peace and the happiness of those we love. We ensure that we are remembered not for our complaints, but for the love, wisdom, and strength we bring into their lives. So before you share a thought, ask yourself, am I saying this to connect, or am I unintentionally creating a burden? If this message resonated with you, let me know in the comments. Have you ever shared something and later wished you had kept it to yourself? And if you found these insights valuable, please like this video and subscribe to Elderly Wisdom Story. Together, we can share these important life lessons with those who need them most. Thank you for being here. Until next time, take care. And remember, sometimes silence is the greatest wisdom of all.